There's not been a new generation of gaming consoles that I haven't been excited for. Futuristic user interfaces, breathtaking new graphics, renewed investment in exclusives to truly showcase what the hardware is capable of. And sometimes,
TV experience. TV and movies, TV. Xbox, watch TV.
But with each generation, the number of games I collect for it gets smaller and smaller. Part of that is due to the number of games sold exclusively through digital storefronts, but also because they don't always grab me like they used to. It's not just nostalgia though. I'm not simply limiting myself to playing the games I grew up with. I'm still buying more PlayStation 2 games in any given year than I do modern console games. Growing up, I had always kind of considered the PS1 and PS2's massive libraries to be a downside. It sounds silly now, but at the time, it was just overwhelming. But today, now that the libraries are more or less static and set in stone, it's the best thing ever. For all the complaints about how few games modern consoles have, the PlayStation 2 had more than 3,400 games released for it, and it could play nearly every single one of the 3,000 original PlayStation games too. While a couple hundred of games might be set aside as the annual sports franchises and whatever, that's still an unfathomable amount of games to play. 3,000 something games, many with completely unique ideas and fresh IP. Sure, I spend a fair bit of time playing games I've already played, either for nostalgia's sake or just to finish games that I never got to finish growing up. But most of the time, I'm playing new titles that I never got to play at all, or only got to briefly rent or try at a friend's house. And many more that I just never knew existed at the time. PlayStation 2 was an era of experimentation. While there were some sequels on the platform, so many games were completely new ideas, or at least fresh reimaginings of old ideas, that blew the minds of young gamers. While the original PlayStation pushed 3D graphics as a new concept, they were always a bit rough within the limitations of the machine. And the massive leap in horsepower combined with the big storage increase of the DVD allowed for new takes on hacking and slashing and shooting and fighting and racing and slaying slimes that would set the standard for the next couple decades. Many of the most hardcore cult classic game franchises got their start on the PS2. God of War, Devil May Cry, Killzone, Kingdom Hearts, Max Payne. Beyond that, many franchises took their biggest leaps this generation, with the standard set on PS2 being how most people remembered the franchise as being, such as with most racing and fighting games, Metal Gear Solid, Prince of Persia, the Dragon Ball Z games, Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and so on. The PlayStation 2 was notoriously difficult to build games for, and yet that didn't stop developers from releasing more than triple the games on PS2 compared to its generational competitors. And some long after the next generation had taken over. Ultimately though, buying and playing games on the PlayStation 2 just feels good. I'm buying games that were made out of passion for the medium, a drive to push boundaries and make cool stuff, with the topmost goal being to ensure that I, the player, will have fun. I recently watched Deadpool and Wolverine with my wife for my birthday, and as much as I absolutely loved the movie, what meant the most to me wasn't the movie at all. It was a quote that Ryan Reynolds gave on the red carpet right before the premiere, and the montage of behind-the-scenes clips from past superhero movies over the last 20 or so years that played during the credits. Well, I don't know what happened. The short I'm referencing has been taken down, and I cannot find any other copy of this interview, but Hugh Jackman gave this huge, long, emotional thank you for supporting us the past 20 years thing, and then Ryan comes on and immediately just says, "We wanted to make sure this was not a commercial for another movie." This quote has been distributed in interviews, but not the red carpet one I felt was really powerful, and the short is just gone, and I cannot find anyone else's copy. The reminder that as messy, often bad and disjointed as the early superhero film days were, they were a passion project for those involved, and ultimately just made as experiments to see if audiences would watch their favorite comics or cartoon characters on the big screen. It wasn't a massive megacorp venture, at least not as mega as it is now, I guess, with a 15-year roadmap or anything like that. The red carpet premiere quote stuck with me so much because I feel like that's what games are now. Gone are the days of complete packaged games with multiple modes, finished content, and an obsession with making sure every gamer gets as much fun out of it as possible. Now, nearly every game you boot up prompts you to buy more of that game before you even play. ads, microtransactions, seasons, DLC, skins, pre-order bonuses, a flood of requests for money drowning you before you have a second of fun, all while distracting you from the fact that they're giving you a fraction of the amount of game they used to, and keep promising you that this one small chunk of the game will somehow last 10 years. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I'm a working adult with a child and responsibilities, and I don't want to spend another precious second of my very minimal gaming time trying to decide if this bonus pack is worth it, or waving away requests for me to buy the new season's battle pass that I will only get 5 levels to anyway. I just want to buy a game, have that game be the best experience the creators could muster before putting it in my hands, experience it, and share it or move on with my life. I still play PlayStation 2 games because they're games that were created solely to give me as much gaming time or as big of an impact from gaming as possible. They're designed to be good, to be enjoyed, and to be shared. I still play PlayStation 2 because when I buy a game for it, I own it. I can put it on my shelf or tuck it away in my disc binder, and it will always be there. No one can delist it from my house. No one's going to take it away from me. Sure, it could get damaged at some point, but that's my responsibility to bear, and I'm free to make my own backups or just acquire another copy. My save files, my experiences with the game are mine to control too. Nothing is going to be deleted off of my hard drive of the game. My saves stay on my memory card, which I can then port over to my PC or my PS3 if I wish, or I can continue playing them forever on original hardware. I'm free to play the games as they were originally intended, with analog video cables and an old CRT TV, or I can use modern high-end component cables and a 4K upscaler to zoom and enhance on my OLED TV. Or I can rip the disc to my computer and modernize the game with mods, high-res rendering, and HD texture packs in an emulator. No one else gets to dictate the terms with which I play the game. And they wouldn't want to. The games were made with player choice and freedom in mind. It was all about giving the player ultimate control over a virtual world, whereas those same franchises continue to have player choice stripped away more and more as time goes on with modern iterations. The console itself also just inspires tinkering and modification. It was at the forefront of online play, with optional network and hard drive adapters being sold. It supported multiple different video output modes and digital optical toslink audio for immersive sound setups. You could get multi-taps for 4-player play, you could get DVD remotes for playing movies alongside playing games, and it was fairly easy to modify. There are mods for running games from hard drives, USB drives, micro SD cards in the memory card slots over Ethernet. You can swap the power supply for a USB-C PSU, you can upgrade the fan to a more reliable and quieter model, or you can strip everything away and turn it into a tiny box. It's shipped with USB ports and a FireWire port, which was unheard of at the time for a game console and very forward-looking. And you could even run Linux on it and use it as a computer. The possibilities felt endless. It's 2024. The PS2's generation is long over. I have not seen a single console in person that isn't scuffed up a little bit, and the consoles do require a bit of maintenance to keep running smoothly. Some of the games are getting a little more difficult to find due to pandemic surge scalping, but I'm going to keep buying and playing PlayStation 2 games anyway, because it just feels like the experience is built around providing a product and service to me rather than making me the product. And that's all I want for my leisure time hobby of gaming. I'm not here to be the next esports legend, nor do I want to pay money every time I log in. I don't want to do chores when I play games. I just want to play. Check this video to see some must-play PS2 games, or this one to learn more about how the PS2 emulator holds up versus original hardware. Remember to be kind.